Shalom. I'm Rabbi Josh Caruso from Anshe Chesed, Fairmount Temple. It is it's my honor to be here in a place where no one wishes to be, and certainly at a time we didn't expect to be here. But it is still my honor to be here and pay tribute to a woman we all knew directly or indirectly. We're here to support the family in so many ways. And I know how much they feel your love at this time. In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. The time of mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Ronna's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. I invite you to join with me, as you wish, for the recitation of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Dear God, this day be with us, God. Wrap us in your presence like a blanket. Comfort our saddened souls. May the grieving family find solace in the love they share, in the devotion of friends and community, in the knowledge of your sheltering presence. God, console us all in the faith that Ronna's memory, her name, lives on among us in every family celebration to come, in each of our smiling memories of her, in the legacy of her generosity of spirit, of her light, her vibrancy, her buoyancy, her smile, in her devotion to family and friends. Shomea tefillot, dear God, hear our prayers. Find favor in this child of Israel, Ronna West Markowitz, beloved wife, mother, Gaga, grandmother, sister, aunt, so much more. Cherished, admired. Shower your presence upon her, O God. May she be welcomed into your presence forever. Leolam va'ed. And we say, Amen. I know that two of Ronna's kids, Andy and Richie, want to share a few words on behalf of the family. Andy? Tyler and Maddie.
On behalf of my family, I would like to thank everyone for coming today. Over the past few days, we've received text messages, phone calls, email messages, and instant messages sending condolences for my mom's passing. It's amazing what a network of friends and family our family has been blessed with. We are very appreciative and feel the intense love from everybody out here. When the rabbi came to my house, he asked our family if my mother had any hobbies. I mumbled under my breath that she loved to yell at me. Could that possibly be a hobby of hers? I have memories of watching Jeopardy with my mother and being amazed that she knew every answer to every question. I always prayed that she can get on Jeopardy because I never thought anyone would be able to beat her and we would become rich. Maybe her brother Harvey knew more, but I thought she was quicker with the buzzer. In 2016, my daughter Maddie had her bat mitzvah in Israel. We were blessed to have all 4 grandparents there with us. That was a special trip for us all. That trip was my best memory with my mother. There are some things about my mom that a lot of you don't know that I wanted to share. She gave a great back scratch. She had great nails and always had nail polish on. Her turkey burgers were unbelievable. She always packed me the best lunches for school. I had a hot dog, microwave fries, and the Little Debbie brownie. Can you hold my shoulder? It'll make me feel stronger. She loved the musical Cats and played the music all the time in the car when we were younger. She grounded Julie and I almost every single weekend. She rotated, to be fair. Richie never got grounded ever. She always got annoyed when people mispronounced her name and called her Ronna. She loved watching Days of Our Lives when we were younger. She loved family. She loved fighting with family. And most importantly, she loved being with family. I know I got it. I remember going to Blockbuster as a kid and getting a family movie and watching it together regularly. She loved Thanksgiving because she loved to be with the Wests, Godfrey's, and Sheriff family every year. I also remember we had a movie projector, and once a year we would watch Swiss Family Robinson on the wall. That was always a highlight for us. She butt-dialed people every single day, multiple times a day. It was her letting you know that she loved you. She loved going to Pickle Bill's and Mentor. I once found a Playgirl magazine in her room when I was young. I thought that was pretty disgusting. I never went through her stuff ever again. I love you too, baby doll. She always kept a jar of money on her nightstand, filled to the top, knowing that we would steal it when we needed money to go to the drugstore or to the pool. It was always refilled, and she never questioned where it went. She never missed one of my sporting events when I was a kid. Not one. She always gave me money every year for Father's Day to make sure Dad got something from me. She also thought I was the best-looking kid out of all 3 kids. And she told me that multiple times. She loved FaceTiming with my daughter, Maddie. They were really close and really had a special relationship. I think my mom was most proud of being married to my dad for 51 years. They were always together. When the rabbi left our house, I realized that her hobby was being with my dad. That made her the happiest. All of the cards or notes my mom wrote to my father, she would write at the end, "I love you more." My dad wrote the same thing on the cards back to her. I suppose if there's a lesson for the secret of a happy marriage, it's to make sure that you love more. That was the secret sauce for them. They were perfect for each other. In 2000, my mom was renamed Gaga when she became a grandmother to Tyler for the first time. In fact, she referred to herself as the original Lady Gaga. She was blessed to have 5 grandchildren who loved her very much. When I think about my mom, I'm going to remember the look in her eyes and the smile on her face when she spent time with the grandkids. And that's how I choose to remember my mother. Mom, you will always be missed. We love you more. Thank you, guys.
Before I begin, I want to thank everybody for coming. A lot of friends, a lot of family. We have 4 rabbis here. I want to thank everybody. Rabbi Caruso, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Zushi, and Rabbi Matt Cohn. Thank you guys for being here. There's no better way for me to start other than by saying my mom was awesome. I was the baby. Andy and Julie would say that I was the favorite. That just wasn't so far from the truth. I was absolutely the favorite, as I should have been. I was the baby, I was the sweetest, I was the best looking, and if that didn't put me over the edge, I graduated in under double-digit college years. 4 and some change to be exact. She may still be paying for Julie and Andy's combined 15 years of undergrad. My mom and I had a special relationship that was heartfelt, filled with smiles, and always filled with love. We could be silly together, make fun of each other, make fun of my sister, make fun of my brother, and also cry together. She was my shoulder when I needed a shoulder. Growing up, I spent a lot of time with my mom and dad, and since have been fortunate enough to live only 12 minutes away. I saw my mom often, but feel today like I wish I saw her more. You don't really appreciate the time you spend until you cannot do it anymore. Everyone that still has parents, give them a hug. Tell them that you love them, because you never know when the day will come to an end. Many people don't know, but my mom is also the reason I met my wife, Karen. She met Karen before me. She saw her old friends, Diane and Alan Weiner, now my amazing Machatunim, and she started a conversation with their daughter, Karen, who was out with them at the time. She called me that night while I was still working in the mortgage business and said, "Do you know Karen Weiner?" I said, we've never met, but I give her dad appraisal work, and she answers the phones and does all of my comps. My mom then said, you need to meet her. She is beautiful. I took her advice and asked her on a date. My mom was right. She was beautiful, and it turned out we had a lot in common. After a couple dates and a few co-ed softball games, chicks dig the long ball. The rest was history. I now have a beautiful family of 4 because of my mom's need to be social wherever she was. Come to think of it, I now have a family of 5 because of my mom's need to be social, as my dog Sadie was actually bred by my parents' dog Coco. This was one of my mom's favorite hobbies. I believe she bred her dogs 7 times in the course of her lifetime. When we lost our dog Jester early in 2001, Karen specifically said she wanted a Havapoo. My mom made sure we were serious about getting another dog, and then took Coco, her purebred 2-year-old Havanese, to mate with a toy poodle. The day after our 15th wedding anniversary, Karen not only got the pick of the litter of 5, but delivered her first very own puppy on her own. An amazing anniversary present, to say the least, and an experience my whole family will remember forever. Speaking of social, my last memory with my mom was no different than any other day. The day she died, her and my dad came to watch my son Josh's football game. I was standing next to another Solon dad that grew up with me in Beechwood, and my mom immediately started up a conversation. This was my mom, always friendly, always social, and always sincere. These are now 3 traits I hope resemble myself as well. A lot of my success in sales is because of my upbringing, and my personality is all because of my mom. I make a living being friendly, social, and being sincere, and if you knew my mom, she was all 3 of these things and more. Back to the conversation at Josh's football game, my mom then remembered the Solon dad and I playing soccer together. She remembered his older sister, who went to school with Andy, and of course she remembered his parents. I joked shortly after the conversation that seemed to never end, Mom, you can remember when we were kids, and you can't remember 5 minutes from now. With a huge smile on her face and a laugh out loud chuckle, she said, true, in her laughter voice, and we all went on. Later that night, I received the horrible news, and the reality is I'm still in shock. I do feel very lucky to have my last memory with my mom as a joke and a laugh. I will remember the laughs, the smiles, the silliness, the vibrant sweaters and purses. Seems like she had 100 of them. I will remember all the random conversations she had with anyone and everyone. Mostly, I will remember the most photogenic person you could ever take a photo with. When my mom smiled, you never needed a second photo. Unless, however, you didn't like how you looked. She was absolutely beautiful. Mom, I will remember you always, especially when I am smiling, because this is one of my favorite qualities you had. I am going to keep smiling. I will continue to be social my whole life. And most of all, I'm going to be awesome every day. I love you so much and hope I continue to make you proud. Your baby.
It is a fearful thing to love, what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream to be and oh to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. There's a famous Jewish story about a wealthy woman who lived in a small town centuries ago. She wished to bequeath to her fellow townspeople a worthy legacy, and so decided to build a new synagogue so that her beloved community would have a fitting place to gather for worship, for study, for celebration, for support. The project was completed just in time for the new year. When the townspeople came to celebrate the opening of the synagogue, they noticed that there were no lamps inside. Even as they marveled at the beauty of the new edifice, they wondered how the building would be filled with light. The benefactor pointed to brackets that were mounted all along the walls of the synagogue. She then gave each family in the town a lamp that was designed to fit perfectly into one of the brackets. She instructed them to bring the light with them each time they came. Every time you join us for worship or for study, for celebration or for support, she said, you bring light to your community. I tell this story because Ronna West Markowitz was a vibrant and buoyant light to so many. Having known Ronna for a good number of years myself, I can say that each memory I hold of her contains elements of that special light that she brought. In every interaction, Ronna, with her eyes wide open, rapt, listening, would ask me about my family, about my life, about temple. I discovered, though, that I was not unique. Ronna was that way with family, with friends, and with just about anyone else. She brought her lamp wherever she went. She brought it in her interactions with her students, with her cleaning lady, and even with the Dairy Queen employee that Marty and Ronna frequented quite often. So today we pay tribute to Ronna, whose light shone on so many of us. She helped to animate our lives, to bring fullness to life, to give us so many memories that make us smile, make us laugh, make us cry, make us reflect on the length of her days. Born and raised to Harry and Ann West in Cleveland Heights, Ronna was the middle child, Harvey her older brother, Steve the younger. Their dad died when Ronna was young, and that put an extra onus on her to be at home and help her mom, who was frequently working, to hold down the fort. Stevie remembers how the West siblings would tease and roughhouse with one another, with his older sister sometimes, maybe often, getting the better of him. Harvey remembers the childhood fighting too. He would get the best of Ronna, and remarked that through time the three siblings, despite all of that roughhousing, I've heard the word torture each other sometimes, despite all of that, they learned to appreciate one another with their shared commonalities as the years wore on. Steve remembers when their dad died how there was a great void in the family and how devastated their mother was in the wake of such a loss. Steve attributes the resilience of him, Harvey, and Ronna to the wonderful friends they had growing up, whose families took them in and treated them as their own. With that said, he also acknowledged the love each sibling had for the other and how they always had one another's back. Most recently, Steve remembers the incredible support they received from Marty and Ronna when Arlene's brother Jim, may his memory be a blessing, was moving through a terrible medical circumstance. Marty and Ronna opened their home to Steve and Arlene with open arms and open hearts. Back in their childhood, Harvey recalled when their parents moved in with their grandparents to save money to buy a house. And as for outings, they went to Browns games, the Catskills with Linda and David, their parents with Marv and Irv and Jean and Irving, all on family vacations. Harvey also told a story that went down in family lore. He said, "One summer, probably around 1981, I took my 4 kids to Phoenix to see Ronna and Marty and the kids while they lived there. Stevie and Arlene came with Allie, who was maybe 3 at the time. Someone got the idea to get a family picture, so we all piled into Ronna and Marty's big van and drove several miles to the photographer. And on the way, probably halfway there, Allie, the youngest, said, 'Where's Richie?' Harvey says, 'We all looked around in the car, and he wasn't there. We turned around, and there he was on the front steps, quite upset. And we picked him up, turned around, and went back.'" Carrie, Ronna's niece, Harvey's daughter, wished to add the following. "As a kid, from the age of probably 4 to 5 until I was 9, I wore the most perfect, adorable pigtails. Aunt Ronna was the one who invented that hairstyle for me one day when I was playing at her old house on Penshurst. She was just probably playing with my hair or something, put them in these pigtails, and when my parents brought me home, my mom loved me in the look so much that I wore them every day until I was 9 or 10. As they grew older, Harvey remembers the more challenging moments too. He recalled the complications Ronna developed following surgery, she spent a summer in the ICU at St. Vincent's. As the resident physician in the family, Harvey would visit her every day after work. It was clear to Harvey that after that summer, their relationship softened even more. There were, of course, the decades-long Saturday morning gatherings at Ronna and Marty's. Harvey would arrive at 9 a.m. sharp. Harvey was so typically prompt, Carrie notes, that if he were a minute late, Julie would be ready to call 911. Karen also fondly remembers those Saturday morning hangouts and is grateful that her mother-in-law, with the aid of her parents, as Richie explained, helped to fix her and Richie up together. Karen remembers Ronna saying, "You have to meet my son." Richie was the youngest of the next generation of 3 siblings, Andy, Julie, and Richie. They remember their mom's dedication to her students as a librarian, committed to their well-being and education. Richie talked about the family's pride when their mom labored over a grant proposal to Target the company to provide much-needed funding for the school where she worked, Wilbur Wright. Based on Ronna's advocacy, Target awarded the school with $100,000 for capital improvements. Julie remembered her mom's famous Jell-O molds layered with beautiful and vibrant colors. Ronna was so proud of her creations. I remember your mom posting pictures of the Jell-O mold just a few years back on Facebook. They really were beautiful. But mostly Julie looks back on her mom as her BFF, as her best friend, and a constant and sure presence in her life and her family's life. She's grateful for the time she's had with her mom. Andy, you spoke so eloquently along with your brother. Those times when you observed your mom in the house, her facility at Jeopardy, some pieces that made you cringe every once in a while, the things that you were like, is that really my mom? But you loved her. And of course, she loved you, and she loved Kelly, and she loved Julie and Todd, and she loved Richie and Karen. You all came together as one unit. We know the 3 of you and your spouses are grateful to Ronna for the love and light, the lamp she brought and shared with your children. She was Gaga to them. Tyler, Maddie, Jack, Joshua, and Sarah. The 5 of you she loved so fiercely, a love that she didn't know she had inside until you were born. You all hold such special memories with her, and how lucky you are to have known her for even this short part of your life. Jack remembers the many times Gaga would mistakenly dial her. That seemed to be a theme when I met with the family. Jack even saved one of those messages. But mainly, she wanted her grandkids to be happy. She took you all around on errands. You went shopping. You went to Sky Zone. She wanted to spoil you as best she could. Maddie remembers their trip to Bite Beauty. I think that was on the West Coast, maybe. And all the selfies you snapped as you had fun with the makeup. And of course, I witnessed firsthand the pride and joy Ronna exhibited in a trip to Israel, highlighted by Maddie becoming bat mitzvah, with the old city walls of Jerusalem in the background. How lucky I was to just be a fly on the wall to witness the family together. The beautiful photos of that day do not do justice to the light that was emitted from Ronna and Marty on that day. Ronna loved Israel, and that trip energized her into connecting even more with her faith and with her culture. I know her family will keep those memories dear and close to their hearts, as do I. Marty, since he was a child, always felt a strong connection to Judaism himself. His father was a founding member of Green Road Synagogue. We're lucky enough to have Rabbi Benjamin Blau here, who's representing the temple amongst all of my other colleagues. Raised with that Yiddishkeit, Marty wanted to someday grow his own family with that love that was so tied into his Judaism. Marty found a beautiful partner in Ronna. One day on the West Home on Silsby, when there was a small fire that occurred. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the commotion drew Marty to that home, and that is when he met his beloved. There was initial connection, so much so that after Marty left that day, Ronna wondered out loud, when is he going to ask me out? It didn't take long. They found each other next at a party. And just days ago, when I asked Marty about his first impressions of Ronna, he looked at me dead in the eye without hesitation and said, "Rabbi, she was drop dead gorgeous." And so began their courtship. Their first date, going to see the movie Airplane. Those are the magical days, as they are for so many of us, when we are emerging adults. Remember those days? Feeling as if we were able to take on the world, not really understanding our own mortality. Ronna connected on such a deep level with Marty, but she still went on a trip with her friends. That was planned. And one of those friends was her dear, dear, dear close one, Eileen Wright. Here is what Eileen shared with me. I met Ronna in 10th grade when we were 15 years old. This year we were able to celebrate Ronna's 75th birthday together. 60 years of friendship. How lucky we were. As teenagers, Eileen writes, we did everything together. More like sisters, we spent much time at each other's homes, listening to music, laughing a lot, eating Becky's fried chicken, and smoking cigarettes. Don't tell my parents. We both went off to Kent State, got our degrees in education. And after saving up some money, we went on a 6-week backpacking trip to Europe. It was Europe on $5 a day. and Ronna would not stay anywhere that did not have a hairdryer. At this point, Ronna had met Marty, and we started every day at the American Express office to see if there was a letter from Marty. The rest is history. Life happens. My heart is sad, but I'm so grateful for the many wonderful memories we shared together, and I smile. Thank you, Eileen. Marty also recalled those days, those moments of young love before email and the tiny computers we call smartphones that now fit in our pockets. At that time, you would relish getting a letter in the mail. Some of us still do, but especially if it was from your love. Even though they were an ocean away, they were tethered to one another after that first date, expressed in the loving notes that each received in the mail. When Ronna returned, their romance continued, punctuated by Marty's gesture one night when he intentionally dropped the engagement ring in Ronna's purse, unknowingly to her. When she was going to leave her purse for even a moment, Marty was quick to discourage that idea altogether. And Ronna most probably had figured it out by then. All turned out okay. Still, more than 50 years of marriage yielded a beautiful family, a beautiful legacy. We're here today far sooner than we ever thought we would be to say goodbye to Ronna, at least in this temporal world. Marty, with all of the emotions right now, no one can truly know your grief, but please know how much you are loved and how much you are held at this time. I hope you feel it. Nothing can replace the vibrant partnership you had all of those years. But we are here for you, to hold you and to remember the stories, to hug you and to hear them again and again, to look at those beautiful pictures, like that incredible one that Julie loves from 1974, when you and your bride looked so beautiful and vibrant and ready for romance that would last so many years longer. Ronna, yes, she had more than the hobby of yelling at Andy. A few others. She was an avid dog lover, as we talked about, which yielded so many puppies. She liked popular music, the 60s music, culminating in going to a trip to a concert where Gaga got to see the real Lady Gaga. She was a talented amateur calligrapher. She liked to sew. In her leisure time, she loved Candy Crush and other games, and she would, maddeningly to her family and friends, invite them to join her in playing those games. Mostly, though, Ronna was a light, and she brought that lamp with her wherever she went. But all of us in our mind's eye can picture her right now, with her smile and her eager eyes, ready to engage in conversation, to hear about your life, filled with passion, filled with love. She wanted to know about you. She wanted to know about your life. She wanted to be in the mix. She would bring her lamp that would animate these relationships. And this was her great gift to us, building community and friendship and love. Zichrona livracha. May Ronna's memory and her name be an enduring blessing. And we say, Amen. I invite everyone to pause for a moment as we consider all the gifts that Ronna brought to our lives. I invite you now to rise as you are able for the chanting of El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Utorim, Kezohar Rakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Rucho Pesha, Bat Aharon V'chana, Shalcha Leholama, Began Eden Tehei Menuchata, Ana Bala Rachamim, Hastireha, Beseter Kenafecha Leholamim, Utror Bitror Achayim Et Nishmata, Adonai Unachalata, V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava, V'nomar Amen. El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Ronna West Markowitz, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace and your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. As we turn to the conclusion of this service, we will move from here to the burial at Zion Memorial Cemetery. The family afterwards will receive friends at the Markowitz residence, 12 Hyde Park in Beechwood. It's the Village. They will be sitting Thursday, today, through 8 p.m. Friday and Saturday, morning services will be at 8 a.m., receiving until 11 a.m., and then from 1 to 7 p.m. Contributions, if you wish to do so, are suggested to go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation or to Breast Cancer Awareness. Shiva will be on Sunday. Correct. Did I say Saturday? Thank you.